Guys, let me tell you about my new sponsor, Virtual Shield VPN. It's great to have them back. Did you know a new bill in Washington is trying to invade your privacy? It's called the Lawful Access to Encrypted Data Act. Guys, the only thing that this is about getting into your information, stealing it, and then selling it abroad. That's why I do everything I can to ensure my privacy online, which means I am always keeping my VPN turned on. Using a VPN will hide your location online and stop advertisers from bothering you. At the click of a mouse, you can change your virtual location to any country you want, allowing you to get past any blocked videos. I only use Virtual Shield VPN, this is true, from Virtual Shield, and it is built from the ground up specifically for your privacy protection. It's fast, it's reliable, and it's a great and secure source. It's available on iPhone and Android as well, guys, and it's always on your desktop. I've partnered with Virtual Shield to exclusively give our audience members 50% off on any VPN plan on virtualshield.com/TRUreporting. All premium add-ons, including a protection plan, and the link is in the description box below, my friends. Listen, 50% off. Go to virtualshield.com/TRUreporting. You won't regret it. Guys, thanks for stopping by and enjoy the podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of True History, the Untold Stories. I am here with my two co-hosts, the Punisher and StoppedAgo. How are you boys doing? I hope you're doing good today.
Oh, I'm pretty good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. StoppedAgo, let's turn that. Let me see if I can get that mic on for you. I hope you're enjoying your day as well, my friend. I don't know why it won't. There he goes. Are you there, my friend?
Hey, I'm here. How you doing?
Good. Doing good. Guys, if you weren't here for episode 1, I would highly suggest each and every one of you going back and watching that. That video is approaching 40,000 views on YouTube, and we knocked the socks off of it. It was a banger. We went over so much information, and this will be just like that. Today, guys, this is 2 weeks of information that these two gentlemen have put together. We will be talking about currency. We will be talking about symbolism. We will be talking about secret societies and infiltration. We will be talking about Item Weishaupt. We will be also talking about American Revolution going up against international banks and much more. So, before we get into any of this, my friends, I need you to go ahead right now. Follow both these men on Twitter. Punisher, what is your handle real quick?
Punished1776.
Punished1776. And StoppedAgo, what is your handle on Twitter, my friend?
My handle is @S stopped and then @A-ago.
I love it. I love it, man. Guys, well, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it. We have the links ready. We have everything ready to go. So Without further ado, this is True History, the Untold Stories. Take it away, my friends.
Oh man, I kind of wanted to jump into the biggest story never told, and that's probably the one that's most important to our lives. And you know, a lot of people, they start researching the money and the history of all these things. The story that's told is very convoluted. It usually sends you just to some quick Rothschild links, and that's it, and it leaves you very, very dry boned. And if you don't tell the whole story, it doesn't really show the true meaning. And so what I like to do is I'm going to give a quick start off real fast and show people a quick origin of money. So obviously, why is gold important to us? Why is it, throughout history, the Sumerians mined gold, the Egyptians, the Mayans, you name it. They all found a fixated value on gold, even though they had no idea the other existed. And according to the Constitution of the United States of America, a dollar is defined as a weight of precious metal. And I think that's probably one of the most important lessons no one understands or no one really knows yet. And that's not taught in our history for a reason. So back in the earliest times, in the earliest, you can imagine when they were carrying a bunch of coins around back in the day, you could hear it from a mile away, and people would get robbed for their sack of coins everywhere they went. So they didn't like carrying their coins or their silver or gold around with them. And people certain people, and it used to be the Templars at first, would carry that gold and silver, and they'd leave them notes for that. You say they'd weigh it up in 5 pounds, and weigh up to 5 pounds of silver, they give them a note. This 5 pounds of silver, and that was the first British pound, was 5. From that start. So as that advanced throughout time, the central banks grew, and central banks were they would print that money for nations, and and they would basically get away with printing about 10 times what they had in gold. And that was how even Rome started on the idea of a sound currency, and it was a republic built on its sound silver and gold backed currency. And it was basically fine for about 178 years. It had no inflation. They had a gold and silver standard with copper and bronze small denominations, and they had really no problems at all until they started going into wars. They were harassed by Hannibal of Carthage in the Second Punic War, and that was what originally started driving them to increase increase certain policies that would debase the value of the currency in order to pay for these wars. So that was kind of how we got that idea, and certain families grew up around that exact area of expertise. And even in the history of all throughout history, you'll see that tended to be the most profitable one known to mankind in many capacities. So even if you look at today, the Treasury building looks a lot like the Roman Forum, which was called the Temple of Saturn, which is where they held all of their gold and silver deposits in Rome. And today, it's the exact same building as the Treasury of the United States, almost identical in footprint. And you'll see a ton of symbology all throughout Washington, D.C. In fact, I think Punisher has an area of expertise just even in the symbology of money. If you want to educate them just on the symbology of money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tweeted out, if anyone watching right now, if you have a $1 bill on you, please pull it out right now, because I want to go into some of that. Okay, and regarding currency, how much does symbolism mean to them? And we're going to go over that. How much symbolism is on the $1 bill? Okay, Thomas, can you pull that up?
Got it. I got it on right now.
Okay. All right, if you look at the left seal, the first thing that anyone sees on the $1 bill is the all-seeing eye.
Yes.
Okay, what many people don't understand is that comes around the times of Babylonian, which actually is from the Greek, the ancient Egypt ruler Nimrod, and it stands for illuminated or illumination, used by the Illuminati. The pyramid underneath has 13 steps, and 13 is a significant number for the Freemasons, the Knights Templar, and the Illuminati. 13 in the Freemasonry is for rebirth. Now, what do you do in a year of rebirth? You got 12 months, right?
Yes.
The 13th month is the rebirth of the year. The Knights Templar were ordered to be burned at the stake on Friday the 13th. In the New Age book written in 1960, the Scottish Rite Journal is explaining the symbolism, such as it goes, all right, we'll go to the right seal. Look at the right seal.
Yes.
You see an eagle. and
Yes.
we think that's the American eagle, but in the left leg, it's got 13 leaves on the olive branches,
Hmm.
13 arrows in the right leg, 13 bars and stripes on the shield, 13 feathers on the tail, and 13 stars on the green crest that's above it. All right, now going back to the all-seeing eye, the all-seeing eye was put on the $1 bill in 1933 by Franklin D. Roosevelt. And guess who he was? A Freemason. All right, now underneath the pyramid of the $1 bill, you see the words Novo Ordo Seclorum, which actually translates to the New World Order. The Roman numerals at the bottom of the pyramid add up to actually 1776. And on May 1st, 1776 is when Adam Weishaupt created the Bavarian Illuminati, which is why we have what we call May Day, if that makes any sense. Nimrod's all-seeing eye also came from the Eye of Horus in Egypt. The Babylonian religion was carried through secret societies for the past 6,000 years. Horus' birthday was actually on December 25th. Jesus Christ's birthday was on September 11th. So in reality, through the manipulation of history, we actually worship a satanic god on December 25th, and we mourn the birth of Jesus on 9/11. That's how they trick us,
Wow.
is through the manipulation of history.
That's crazy, because we've all said, people always say, a good red pill to give to somebody is to say, what is this pyramid on the back of the $1 bill? What does this have to do with anything in America? It has nothing to do with anything. It's very strange. I know there's owls on the front and all sorts of stuff. I did not know that about the eagle. That is not an American eagle. That is symbolism throughout it. You're talking about the leaves, and you're talking about the arrows and the stripes and the feathers, all adding up to 13. And then you have the 13 pillars, or the 13 basically levels of the pyramid, and the 13th being that very top of the all-seeing eye. Why is there an eye on there? It's something that you should show normies out there to say, does this make any sense to you? What does this have to do with America? And
Well, I'm
yeah.
going to get into that.
Yeah.
The right seal is not actually an American eagle, but it's a symbolic hawk of the Eye of Horus.
The
On the
Eye of
right
Horus. What is this? I'm going to look that up.
goes back to Egypt. Yeah,
Okay.
the Eye of Horus. That is where the all-seeing eye actually comes from. Now, the feathers, there's actually 32 feathers on the eagle, or 33.
Mhm.
What does 33 represent? 33 degrees of masonry.
Mhm.
The all-seeing eye also represents, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, the all-seeing eye represents the top of the pyramid being unfinished, as America was the final nation to infiltrate. That's why the pyramid's not finished, because the all-seeing eye represents that America was the last nation to infiltrate. On the top right corner, if you look at the front on it, the top right corner, that one, on the very top left of that one on the right corner, you see an owl. Now, we all know the owl represents Baal, which resembles hidden or secret societies.
Mhm.
Higher degrees of Freemasons actually believe when their symbolism is transferred from one entity to another, that every time that happens, that gives them power.
So looking at this pyramid, the pyramid is not finished. You're right. And so, has America been completely infiltrated?
Well, what does the all-seeing eye look like? It represents an A, right? What's A stand for? America.
Right. That's
Now, once America's taken over, according to the Freemasons, that pyramid is complete. They've infiltrated every nation and they've conquered.
unbelievable. And this is what we're walking around with. This is what we work our hands to the bone for, to carry around this phony propaganda. It's not even propaganda. This phony, worthless paper. And it's all their symbology. It's all theirs.
Anyone who thinks that they're walking around with a piece of paper in their wallet, you're walking around with satanic symbolism.
Correct.
Not just paper. And every time you use it, they believe Not saying we do, but they believe it gives them more power every time it's transferred from one entity to another.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, so we're putting all of our energy into this object. You know, people, the biggest thing that people fear, the biggest thing is going broke. You know, besides fear of the afterlife, it's always how am I gonna survive? I have to work so hard and stress out day in and day out just to get this money, to get this thing to go buy something with. It's just a complete form of enslavement, and what's all over it is nothing. You're absolutely right. It's just pure negativity. It's pure symbolism, and it's Satan.
When Q
Symbology
says
is everything.
symbolism will be their,
Everything.
when Q said symbolism will be their downfall,
Mhm.
a lot of people don't know how really deep that goes.
Right.
Now, and I want to hand this off to StoppedAgo, because the symbolism, there's a lot more behind the tactics of why they put this on here. And it's put on here basically to manipulate us, not because we don't see it, it's because it's influencing us and we don't even realize it. And StoppedAgo, I want you to go into the tactics of currency.
Well, real quick, is it manipulating us subconsciously?
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
You have to remember, Thomas, their entire system runs on idolization. So symbology is almost it's paramount to a system that runs on idolization.
Right. Unbelievable. Yeah. So StoppedAgo. Go ahead and go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, as he was saying, so symbology is everything, and one of the big points about why is there a gold standard? Why not any other thing? Why is there not like a wood standard or something? But the reason is because gold is only created by a supernova. So unless another supernova happens, which would basically destroy everything on this planet and everything in this known galaxy, there's not going to be any gold coming to this planet anytime soon. So whatever gold is here was deposited on this planet in the last few supernovas. So we're not going to get any new amounts of gold. There's just veins of gold on this planet that exist. So there's a finite amount of it, and they know that, and that way they can always base currency off that finite amount, something that we can't create. And that is also why it's. To me, a godly thing is a gold standard, because it's basically putting it back to something that we can't create. Like none of us can create gold. We can try, and even scientists today in 2016, 2017 in a lab for 2 years they did nuclear energy and it cost them basically almost millions of dollars to be able to produce not even like a nanogram of gold, and so basically the cost far outweighed the ratio to be able to print gold. So
I love that. I want to stop you real quick. That I love the fact that you said that we have to go back to something that's natural, something from this earth as a currency.
Can create. Yes.
That man did not create. Exactly.
Okay, so now once someone's got their head on that, then you can see why even the people who started to create central banks and rule central banks would try to manipulate those central banks. And one of those people who was possibly the most famous out of all of them his name was Mayer Amschel Bauer. When he was born, the name Rothschild didn't come until he created his little houses of banking that I was describing earlier, where people would come and weigh their money up and get notes for how much money they just weighed up. And those houses would typically have a little red shield on the door, and that's what Rothschild means, is red shield in German. And so he was born in 1744, so a good almost 30 years or so before the American Revolution, 32 years before the American Revolution. But in that time, he went from being born a person, he was basically a little orphan in a ghetto in Frankfurt, Germany, in Hessen, Germany, and he taught himself currency exchange, and the way he did so was by researching the Roman Empire and what crashed the Roman Empire. And he figured, if these things could crash the Roman Empire, then that makes you pretty powerful, right?
Yes.
So he went into currency exchange and rare coin trading and antique dealings, which brought him in contact with Prince Wilhelm I of Hessen. And he got Wilhelm in debt, obviously, through antique dealings and coin trading and currency exchanges. And then it got to the point where William was so in debt to him, he appointed him the royal purveyor of finances, where he managed the prince's foreign investments, even protecting the Hessians' fortunes during the Napoleonic occupation of Germany. And he was the first person to introduce the concepts of diversification, confidentiality, and rapid communication and high volume. So he was pretty much, in banking, in modern day banking, he was someone that a lot of people look back to. But in reality, he took the idea of what's called usury. I mean, in the Bible, it was a practice that was pretty next to witchcraft, which was basically charging someone way too much interest for a loan that they know they couldn't pay back. And that was considered
unbelievable.
Over whatever 15 to 20% interest was considered usury. And nowadays we're paying 36 to 50 something percent taxes. You know what I mean? And in some cases, and we're just taking it. And the entire American Revolution was fought on 3% taxes, and they were willing to die to not pay 3% taxes. So that lets you know, like, we fought battles to not pay 3% taxes, and now we're paying God knows what. So, even when I was talking earlier about Hannibal, in the Second Punic War, where he invaded Rome and started harassing them, they introduced all these different ways to pay for the war. So one of them, like I said, was clipping the coins and saving all those clippings and melting more coins, and all the little coins would just get smaller and smaller and smaller. And today they get pretty much the same thing done because there's no gold silver standard. So they just basically print more and more money, the same as they would clip those coins. And basically our portion sizes get smaller and smaller, and our prizes go up and up. So you've noticed that in the grocery store when you go buy the same thing you used to get, it's a little bit smaller than it used to be, or a little bit more air in the package, but the price just went up a little bit. So
these people are born with pure evil in their heart.
Yes, and when they can take away the power of our purchasing power, any amount, 10 cents, if you think about that on a national level, that's a lot of money to have taken out of the economy that to make the dollar amount less. That's like blowing out so much hot air that you make the world degree go up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the level of insidiousness that these people have been putting themselves into royalty. Now, they even bought their way into the royal bloodlines because they got these royal heads so far in debt that they bought their way into power and said, "You're going to give me the rights to your daughter." And the kings went right along with it because if they didn't have it, their kingdom was gone financially anyway.
So you're talking about that they did this before. Now they're doing it to royalty. They're doing it to kings. They were doing it. This gentleman, this Rothschild, learned this from the Romans.
He was a self-taught currency exchange kid who was just a born
self-taught. These people are so advanced. They're so advanced.
Self-taught, and he taught himself how to take down an entire empire. Now, getting into like what kind of plans this guy had in 1773, he invited Goldschmidt, who's goldsmith, Warburg, the Schiffs, same Schiff that we all know about, pencil neck. It's his grandfather, great grandfather, Oppenheimer, the Warburgs, and Mr. Adam Weishaupt. To plan the takeover and the infiltration. He invited them all to one of his little goldsmith shops to have them all sit down and plan the takeover, the global expansion through America. They knew that America was their keystone in taking over the world. So I know that Pun is the man.
Did we lose him?
And when it comes to who is Adam Weishaupt.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into Adam Weishaupt. Let's do that.
All right. Well, I mentioned 13 a lot as far as the dollar bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does that represent? The 13 lines of the Illuminati, the bloodlines. Mm-hmm. Do you know that the number 13 is actually mentioned 33 times on the $1 bill? 33, is that a coincidence? 33rd degree Mason?
Wow.
Everything is not by accident. Now, this leads me into Adam Weishaupt. Now, who is he? Adam Weishaupt was a Jesuit priest who founded the Bavarian Illuminati on May 1st, 1776.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm here.
And he founded it by the founding of the House of Rothschild, which is exactly what StoppedAgo was just talking about, in Germany. The year after Weishaupt was initiated as a Freemason in the House of Munich, Weishaupt seen Masonic lodges as like a recruiting lounge for the Illuminati. He infiltrated them, and he used Baron Bond Kennedy, and they infiltrated Masonic lodges, and they recruited up to 3,000 members of the top elite around the world. And Weishaupt developed an agenda of 7 stages to infiltrate and take over nations. Do you have those 7 stages, Thomas? Can you put that up?
Yes, let me bring that up real quick. Like, see,
Now this is very important.
yes, I can read them to you. I don't want to bring it in because it is from a conversation all of us were having. So I'll go. So number 1 is abolish of all order governments. Number 2, abolition of private property. Number 3, abolition of inheritance. Number 4, abolition of patriotism. Number 5, abolition of the family, abolition of religion, and creation of a new world order. Doesn't that sound all so familiar with what is happening right now?
Exactly. What are you seeing today? And you telling me that the Illuminati doesn't exist now?
Yeah, this is their playbook.
Yes, the Illuminati was created by Adam Weishaupt to unite all secret societies under one occult of Palladism, and I'll get into that in a second. But Adam Weishaupt, he initiated members that infiltrated Masonic lodges in France, Italy, Sweden, Belgium, Denmark, Hungary, Poland, using his satanic 7 agenda, however you want to say it, to influence nations away from Christianity and sovereignty to weaken the people to a state of submission to government. In 1785, there was an Illuminati member by the name of Lanza. He was killed in a lightning strike in Redazan. God, I can't say that. When authorities examined him, they discovered the actual documents, the Order of the Illuminati, which had details on the progress of the French Revolution. Upon the death of Lanza, Adam went underground. He took all his highest elites with him to avoid persecution. It was in the year 1800, in a letter to James Madison, Thomas Jefferson described the real existence of the Illuminati. And get this, Thomas Jefferson described Adam Weishaupt as a utopian idealist.
What?
Yes. Later that year, guess who became president? Thomas Jefferson.
This is crazy, dude. Let me move this back over here. I was able to bring in the list for everyone to see, which is amazing.
Now all this is fully documented, so anybody who's like, "Oh, you shooting shit," go look at it, research it.
I will read you something real quick. Just kind of going through, just going through some pictures of Adam Weishaupt. It says Weishaupt formed his own secret society and called it the Illuminati after the Illuminism or witchcraft that he practiced, like Freemasonry. The Illuminati is a Luciferian movement used to preserve and promote the ancient black arts of Babylonian and Druid witchcraft. And this is a quote from Adam Weishaupt. It says here, it was the full conviction of this and of what could be done if every man were placed in the office for which he was fitted by nature and a proper education, which first suggests to me the plan of the illumination. So basically he was trying to put in his own people in every spot that he could, just to control power.
Yes, and he
100%.
succeeded. And
Wow.
It's okay. Going back to the 1820s, Mayor Amschel Rothschild financed the Bavarian Illuminati and was against any government who dared to actually regulate international bankers, such as Amschel Rothschild.
We're looking at that right now. Developing circumstances soon allowed the Rothschilds to formulate a plan which would guarantee them the financial control of Europe and soon the world. Amschel Mayor Rothschild said, "Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws."
Exactly.
It's lawless because it's under their control. They make the laws.
Well, if you control the money, you control the country, regardless of what the laws are, and we're seeing that now.
Yes.
All right. Now, after what
He also said, "I care not what idiot sits upon the throne of England. He who prints the money is the king of England, and I print the money."
Wow.
and
Unbelievable.
After Weishaupt's death in 1830, Jezebel Mazzini, a 33rd degree Mason, he headed up the Illuminati. He was the next in order. And he founded a group of revolutionaries called Young Italy in 1831, which later became, guess what? The Mafia, which are the enforcers of the Illuminati. Mazzini recruited a Freemason by the name of Albert Pike. You might want to pull that one up.
Okay. Just give me a second. Just continue. I'll bring it up.
All right.
You want me to bring up Albert Pike?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Albert Pike was initiated to the higher ranks of the Illuminati. He was the head of the operations for the United States. He was our Illuminati member. I hate to say that because it sounds awful. But Pike was heavy into the occult, and he created the book Morals and Dogma, which transitioned into a high-ranking transitioned Freemasons into high-ranking Illuminati. Pike was a Confederate general and a founding member of the KKK. But
yes, it does say that. Yes.
Yes. Pike is the only Confederate general with an honorary statue on federal property in D.C. The only one. But it's not for being a commander or a lawyer. He was actually honored because he was the southern leader of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry.
Yes.
Pike was the Grandmaster. Yeah. Pike was the Grandmaster of a Luciferian group known as the Order of the Paladin, or the Southern Council of Wisdom, founded in Paris in 1937. He took it over.
We're looking at a picture right now, just from Wikipedia, showing Albert Pike, and on the front of it, he's wearing a giant medal. I mean, let's be honest, guys. If I could zoom in on this, that would be wonderful. Actually, I can. Look at this medal. StoppedAgo. I know you're able to see the screen, aren't you? If you want to pull back and look at that screen and maybe describe this stuff to me.
They definitely didn't. They definitely did not slack on the metal game. You know, they spent a lot of time and a lot of you could see there. I mean, that's a lot of stitching.
That's a lot of stitching. The 33 is on the middle. Look. What is that medallion? What is this medallion at the very end? It looks like two. Can you see this, StoppedAgo?
I believe that is the exact thing that Punisher was describing to you. That's on the dollar bill. That is.
There you go.
That is the Hawk Horus.
The Eye of Horus.
Yes.
All right. Now, what is Palladism? That actually comes from the Egypt Pythagoras, which was in the 5th century BC. This goes all the way back to Egypt. So when I say we're in a 6,000-year war, this is what I'm getting to. And there was a journalist, Byron C. Fagan, that described the documented evidence how the Illuminati was the instrument of the House of Rothschild to achieve a one-world government by funding every war since the 1700s by the Rothschilds. And we already know that. And they infiltrated every government and nation on the planet. But guess who they sent here to control our monetary system? Jacob H. Schiff, yes, the great-grandfather of Adam Pencilneck Schiff, was sent to the United States to further their agenda by controlling the currency system through the creation of the Federal Reserve.
From what country? Do we know from what country?
Germany.
Germany.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what he did is he gained control of both parties through the creation of the Federal Reserve. I mean, not the Federal Reserve, but the CFR. The CFR was basically meant to control our elected officials through foreign entities and using control of our monetary system to pay off and influence them.
It's amazing how these families stay in power. And people say, Adam Schiff, these people are very, very powerful. You know, we seem to think, you know, why aren't these people being arrested as of yet? Because they come from very, very rich and powerful families. If you think of, I mean, the ties that they have and the wealth that they have, like Hillary Clinton. Who knows what that
They make
family
100-year
carries, you know?
They
Well,
make
here's the
100-year
thing,
plans.
Thomas. Do you think Adam Schiff is in his position by accident?
No.
Well, why was the CFR, the Trilateral, and Bilderberg, why were they created?
Tell me.
They are part of the UN Agenda 2030 or 2031, however you want to put it. It's the same thing. Those ideas, those establishments have been in play for the past 300 years.
Correct.
It's all been towards a new world order. And guess who's at the heart of all of it? The Rothschilds.
Yes.
In fact, you can take it all the way back to the literally every single battle that we faced as a nation. The biggest battles that we faced as a nation through the first 200 years of our nation, every one of them, the Rothschilds were at the foot of.
Exactly.
Every single one.
Funding it?
I can list them off to you.
Here's what I'm getting to. We were infiltrated before we were even a country.
Correct.
Now you got to think, and I see it from both sides. I know both arguments. You know, nothing's happening. Trust the plan. I look at it from both sides. And one side I can see it from is if you see how much we've been infiltrated, it's not going to go away very easy.
No.
I mean, we are fighting a massive enemy.
An enemy that has been the foundation of pure evil and pure control for hundreds of years, longer than that, let's be honest.
Yes, and a lot of people say that puppet masters are Soros and they're Hillary and they're Obama. No, they're not. Those are the puppets.
Yes.
The World Bank and the Rothschilds are the puppet masters, or shall I say the Illuminati.
So going back to even back to 1776, that's where we all say that we were born as a nation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was, that's where we all celebrate the 4th of July, 1776. Well, there were many. There was actually there's debates on this because there was a lot of arguments as to who was going to be president then. It wasn't as organized as it became now. But back, there were plenty of presidents. I have like 8 that I have listed that were before George Washington. But the difference was, the reason why we don't ever acknowledge them in history books is they weren't quote unquote recognized by the crown. The crown didn't recognize us. As
so you're saying there were eight quote unquote presidents before the very president before Washington.
John Hanson, 1781 to 82 was established the first post office. Elias Bourdonnais, 1782 to 83, presided over the Treaty of Paris. Thomas Mifflin, 1783 to 84, served under Washington. Richard Henry Lee, 84 to 85, was an opponent of the Constitution. Hancock, Nathaniel Gorham, Arthur St. Clair, Cyrus Griffin, and they all played a huge role in American society going forward. But that was just because a lot of it was unorganized at the time. There was still a lot of factions that couldn't communicate like we can today. There wasn't like that instantaneous communication that we have today. So,
and it was because they were not recognized by the crown.
Correct. The revolution that we fought in America has nothing to do with very little to do with the crown itself, and very much so to do with the people who at that point in history had already taken over the crown. Because like I was telling you earlier, by 1801, Mayor Amschel Bauer controlled all of Prince Wilhelm. And by the Battle of Waterloo, which was 1815, he had already taken control of all. He had put all 5 of his sons into the positions of central banks in France and all over France and Paris, Vienna, and Naples. So when he had that, when we were being attacked by France, or when we were being attacked by England, it was because the Rothschilds told the king, this is what you're going to go do, and they financed it all, and they financed both sides. Even when Lincoln was in the Civil War, he was getting financed by the Bank of England, which was being financed by the Rothschilds.
So I have two things to ask. So I'll ask you, and then you can tell me. So somebody, I believe it was Minnie, somebody said it in the chat. Let me go find it real quick. Like, Minnie, not your business. It's been ever since Napoleon. So what I wanted to bring to both you guys was all these wars are proxy wars, all since the very beginning, just to bring misery, suffering, to spread this disease that they they worship also to get money, control, power. Yes.
Let me give you a perfect example, Thomas, of why how they take something as simple as fear. Yeah, go ahead, Pun.
Well, what I was going to say is, like, as far as these proxy wars, it's no different than every false flag we've seen as far as Sandy Hook, 9/11, Vegas, everything we've seen in the past several decades. Every single one of these events is a building block towards completing their agenda.
Correct.
Just like
Yes.
Operation Mockingbird, Operation Paperclip, it's to remove your guns, it's to silence you. It's all a building block, just like a pyramid. That pyramid represents them completing their agenda. And they're so close, but their biggest problem is Trump got into office and that just basically shut their plans down. And that shows you the tension that we're seeing today as to why they're fighting
Well said.
so hard. Because this 6,000-year war is coming to an end right now.
Perfect.
Unbelievable.
Perfect.
Well said. I like that.
So the Battle of Waterloo, back to your viewer's point, who said Napoleon, the Battle of Waterloo is a perfect example of how fear can take down an entire nation who even won the war. So this is one of Mayor Amschel Bauer Rothschild's most famous moves in history, and it's one that actually Donald Trump recently taught America a lesson about, and I'll get to that. One of their fear tactics of how they get fear into the country and use that to sell off. What happens when people think there's fear in the markets? They try to sell for the highest value they can, and that will spark a bigger and bigger sell-off, and that typically snowballs into what can roll an entire market down, and they know this. So right at basically the Rothschilds had told England to retreat their naval fleet in the area of France and near Waterloo, so that they could basically bait France into getting into a war that they couldn't win, getting into a battle they couldn't win, and they did. And basically Mayor Bauer had his speed yacht that he had built off the coast that was faster than any boat. He designed a boat that was going to be faster than any boat, faster than any military boat. And he was watching from offshore, had his people watching up from offshore, who got that news back to him 24 hours before it was in anyone else's hands. And he was a very well-known trader at that time, so people knew to see whether he was in a good mood or a bad mood, because if his head was up, it was a good day on the markets, and if his head was down, it was a bad day on the markets. And everyone was waiting to hear what was happening with Waterloo, because if England lost, they needed to sell everything now and get what they could before France comes and takes it. And if they won, everyone was rich and they were going to be celebrating. But what did Rothschild do? He stood out front with his head down. So everyone in England thought that they lost. So they started selling like rampant, like fear, fear, fear. And they were all doing it just based on fake news. And
wow,
man, while everyone was selling off their inheritance and they sold the crown jewels and the Windsor Mansion and all the major palaces and troves of England and companies and corporations abroad that all were connected, all got bought up for pennies on the dollar, and they became one of the richest families overnight. And they turned that fortune into a battle against America, because if they could take over America's bank and America's army and militaries, then they could use that to go invade nations, and they could bankrupt us instead of themselves. So every single battle that we fought, like 1791, the Rothschilds got control of our banking when we adopted their 20-year charter. That was a big deal. Like, we fought a lot of wars to be free from them. And in 1791, they took us right back over with a 20-year charter where basically we had to ask for our money from them. In 1811, that charter ran out and Congress voted it out. And Nathan Mayer stated, either this application for renewal is granted or the United States will find itself involved in a most disastrous war. Well, that was 1811. What happened the very next year? The War of 1812. And he said, I want them brought back to colonial status. He said, he said, teach these impudent Americans a lesson. I want them brought back to colonial status. That's a big threat for a little man. And now, mind you, the United States heard those threats and stood firm. The Congress voted it out anyway. And 1812, backed by Rothschild money, Nathan Mayer's orders, the British declare war in the United States, and the plan was to cause the U.S. to accumulate such a massive debt, forcing our capital, our capitulation in our capitals to make a second charter appealing to where, basically we needed the money so easily because we're involved in such a war that the idea of money easy would just like fast food would be pretty appealing. And then in 1816, Congress passed a bill permitting a second charter of the Rothschild control over our bank for 20 more years. Again, called the second bank of the U.S. And the British and the American, it was huge. The British deaths and American deaths in the War of 1812, but and soldiers and citizens and everything all died. But the Rothschilds got their bank. And in 1832, President Andrew Jackson ran on the slogan "Jackson and no bank" and won by a landslide. 1833, he started removing. This is really important. Started removing, and I think he did it in 1833 just to like Pun was saying, symbolism. He used their symbolism against him and started removing all the government deposits from the Rothschild-controlled banks. So instead of depositing them in the Rothschild-controlled banks, he started them depositing them in American-owned and American-controlled banks. And the Rothschilds, in return, contracted the money supply, causing the Depression of 1833. And Jackson stated, "You are a den of vipers and thieves, and I intend to rout you out. By the eternal hand of God, I will rout you out."
Wow, that is so crazy.
And
so he knew all these people know,
yes,
especially if they're working for the Alliance. There's always been a duality between good and evil. There's always been, the Alliance. There's always been black hats, they've known the control.
It never stops. It never sleeps.
What did he say to the Rothschilds one more time? Andrew Jackson
said, "You are a den of vipers and thieves, and I intend to rout you out. And by the eternal God, I will rout you out." And you know who else talks a lot like that? It says the eternal God. And that's a pretty big word. So 1835, there was an assassin sent by the Rothschild who fired 2 pistols at Andrew Jackson, and both of them misfired. And Andrew Jackson proceeded to beat the man to death with a cane. And Jackson said that he blamed the Rothschilds for the attempt. And he was not a little guy either. He was a big guy, so he could lay the whooping with a cane. But in 1836, Jackson succeeded in throwing him out, and the charter was not renewed. So America held firm. 1841, John Tyler vetoed the act to renew the charter. He was the 10th president. In 1861, Lincoln got hit with a 24 to 36% interest in the war, approaching them for a loan, approaching the Bank of New York for a loan. And when they said you get 24 to 36% interest, he was so flabbergasted that they would offer him such usury that he went and printed his own money. And by April of 1862, he had printed $449,338,902 worth of Lincoln's debt-free money, and he had been printed and distributed. And it's kind of like a funny point, because the Rothschilds, when he was doing that, didn't just sleep and go, "Oh God, he's printing money, we better go to bed and give up now." In fact, 1862 September. So mind you, this was April of 1862. By September of 1862. Was the Emancipation Proclamation. Well, what happened 2 months prior to the Emancipation Proclamation, right when all the slaves are getting their freedom? What are the Rothschilds doing? They're creating the IRS July 1st, 2 months prior to the Emancipation Proclamation going into effect. They're creating the Internal Revenue System, because they knew that they were just losing their revenue off of slaves, and they wanted to make sure they got their revenue back tenfold when they taxed all of us. So that was not the end, that was the beginning. The 13th Amendment, which was in 1864, abolishing slavery and involuntary servitude, has a clause in it, if you read it carefully. At the very end, it says, "except as punishment for a crime," which basically says that slavery is totally legal if you committed some crime.
I'm looking at
that Biden crime bill in 1994.
Sure.
Where basically all kids who are minorities are considered super predator criminals, and
yes,
they can be locked up, and now they could be slaves. And guess what? And when you're in a prison, that's exactly what you are. They make you go to work for pennies on the dollar, stamping, this and packaging that, and doing all these things that they're getting from big dollars from corporations, and that's all privately owned by big dollars.
I'm looking at this from
constitutional attorney.
Real quick, I wanted to say something with Andrew Jackson. I mean, you're absolutely right. He has a quote: "I killed the bank, 1845. The great American patriot Andrew Jackson, the 7th president of the United States, dies." Before his death, he is asked what he regarded as his greatest achievement. He replies without any hesitation, "I killed the bank." This is a reference to the fact that he banished the Rothschilds' second bank of the United States in 1836.
So check this out. I actually wrote a thread about this, but you're going to love this. 1863, the Tsar of Russia, Alexander, and his general was young Nikolai at the time, were facing the same contentious attempts by the Rothschilds to set up a central bank in Russia. And he had wrote Lincoln and told him that he had informed the Rothschilds that if they moved their fleets against America, which they were planning to do, he saw them mobilizing their fleets to go and attack us. He said he informed their king that if they did, and he informed the Rothschild that if for every one troop they advanced on us, he would move 10 of his troops into their country. And that's a huge checkmate for a country the size of Russia. And at the same time, he informed Lincoln that he was sending 1/3 of his Pacific fleet to the port of New York, or to the port of San Francisco, and 1/3 of his Atlantic fleet to the port of New York, which is where we got a lot of our early Russian population that wasn't already in Alaska. So that's, and like, for instance, in Northern California, there's like the Russian River, and there's a lot of, like, you know, right next to the Golden Gate Bridge, there was a camp where they were actually stationed. That's still there to this day. In April 1863, they killed Lincoln. So he actually didn't even get to see the end of the Civil War. And 1881, President James Garfield, only 100 days before he was in office, before he was assassinated, and he was famous as, mind you, the reason why they assassinated him is because he was president, and in 100 days he said, "Whoever controls the volume of money in our country is absolute master of all industry and commerce." And when you realize the entire system is very easily controlled one way or another by a few powerful men at the top, you won't have to be told how periods of depression and inflation originate. They killed him after 100 days for saying that.
Pure control.
In 1913, Woodrow Wilson was in office, and he said, "Since I entered politics, I have chiefly had men's views confided to me privately. Some of the biggest men in the United States in the field of commerce and manufacture are afraid of something. They know that there is a power somewhere so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked, so complete, so pervasive, that they dare not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it." That is one of the most powerful quotes of ever, first of all, but in our century, by far. He was also, after leaving office, mind you, he had just initiated the Federal Reserve, you know, in his time, World War I. He got America involved in World War I in that time. He got he changed our education system to the federally funded education system, which basically was crap, and he knew it. And at the end, he realized how bad he sold out his country. And there's a very controversial post, and the reason it's controversial is because it was pulled together by a bunch of his diary writings, but these are all his thoughts, and it was all put together into one quote, and that's why there's a lot of controversy behind it. But it's a very powerful string of quotes nonetheless. And
I do want to touch on something real quick. So people are asking, and I found the quote from Andrew Jackson. You read it verbatim. Yes. Incredible memory. I mean, guys, you're on. I mean, this is what's so special about this show. I want to say, it says, "You are the den of vipers and thieves, and by the eternal, I will rout you out." Andrew Jackson, the 7th president of the United States, speaking to a group of big bankers in 1834.
Oh, yeah.
So somebody in the audience, I will say their name because it's great. And guys, this is such a good show. You should bring all your friends in to watch this if they're red-pilled, because this is so important. Again, this is 2 weeks. These two guys put together 2 weeks of information to bring to you today. So please hit that like button. Please share this. Let's get to over 1,000 likes as fast as possible. I know there's over 1.3 thousand watching right now, which is a great number. So thanks to each and every one of you. From Tokyo Rose, this could go to both of you. StoppedAgo, if you want to go ahead and go first. Will Trump break the bank?
Yes. 100%. I'll even give you a quick example of how he's already broke the bank. And that is this. Go look at the market right now. You ask me, we're in the middle of a 4-month global shutdown, global trade shutdown.
Yes.
We used to be reliant on foreign oil, meaning right now in a global shutdown and pulling our oil out of a war zone would be very costly, and that always resulted in higher and higher and higher prices. And we wouldn't have been able to sustain such an economy during a crisis like this. It's only because of his energy policies, it's only because of his financial policies, it's only because of his foreign policies that we are anywhere near 25,000. And the fact that we're above 26 in the middle of a global shutdown shows you that something's happening that is not normal.
It's not normal.
It tells you that something is not normal. The Rothschilds selling their Black Forest. Let me tell you something about the Rothschilds. They don't sell anything. Why would they sell it? They could just they own the central banks to 190 something nations on earth. They can literally walk into that central bank, print out 100 million and keep the property. So there's no reason for them to sell it. So the fact that they sold something lets you know they don't have a printing press anymore. Someone took it away from them, and they don't have money in their pockets. Someone froze it. And that all ties back to those first initial executive orders that Trump signed. And when you combine all that with some of the major moves he's made with, say, NATO, and demanding that everyone pays their 2.5% GDP and pays back what they owe, I think that's why he flew into Davos with 17 helicopters. If you think about it, what do you need that much helicopters for? What's in Davos, Switzerland? All the gold that is held at the Bank of International Settlements.
Punisher, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, going back to that, like, Q said gold shall destroy the Fed.
Correct.
And StoppedAgo just laid that out right now. And that is happening right now. But another thing I want to mention is there's a lot of comments I get, and this is going back to the Freemasons. Sorry to kind of change the subject. But I get a lot of comments that people think that I say a lot of Freemasons are satanic. You're not getting the message. It's the higher ups that really understand and know what's going on in Freemasonry and the Illuminati that truly understand what they are fighting for.
Can I give you a good quote?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to give you a great quote that backs up exactly what you just said. And it was Republican House of Representatives leader Louis T. McFadden. Thomas, if you want to pull the picture up of him, he was someone that everyone should know his face when they see it. He should have been postered on every single history book in America. He was one of the loudest and most vocal critics against the Federal Reserve, and he laid it out perfectly with two quotes. One, he said, the international bankers sought to bring about a condition of despair here so that they might emerge rulers of us all. And that is a powerful quote because we're seeing a lot of that right now through all their different techniques. And the second thing he said, and I love this quote, everyone should look it up, read everything you can on this man and everything he tried to do in Congress, especially the McFadden Act of 1927. Read about it, learn about it, everything you can. The quote is, the men of the Democratic Party then promised the people that if they were returned to power, there would be no central bank established here while they had the reins of government. 13 months later, that promise was broken, and the Wilson administration, under the tutelage of those sinister Wall Street figures who stood behind Colonel House, established here in our free country the worm-eaten monarchical institution of the King's Bank to control us from the top downward, from cradle to grave.
Unbelievable. Here's another quote, and I'll get right back to you, Punisher, I promise. The Great Depression resulting from the stock market crash was not accidental. It was a carefully contrived occurrence. The international bankers sought to bring about a condition of despair here so they might emerge as rulers of us all. Again, there's that word. Just like I was saying before, despair, negativity, sorrow. They're not doing it just to have control. I truly believe that these people are getting, and this is going to go a little out there, but I'm telling you, I think they're getting off-world information, just like you were talking about with the gentleman who was able to create some plan off of the Romans to take control of incredible countries. I just don't understand how someone could be that smart. There's a bloodline effect to this. Where is this bloodline from? I think you know where I'm going with this, but I'm telling you, they are feeding off some sort of energy. It's our energy through this money, through Moloch, through Baal, through despair, suffering, so much more. And I believe that this getting away, like you said before, getting away from this paper fabricated money and going back, getting away from something that's man-made and going into something natural really hit home with me. There's something that they're doing, there's something that they're worshiping, and we are getting away from that at a very high pace.
Well, Thomas, let me say this. You're actually going back to the first episode.
Yeah.
Okay, what did we talk about? We talked about Nephilim. We
Mhm.
talked about extraterrestrial.
Mhm.
Like, is it really that hard to believe that those things might actually exist?
For some people, it's very hard to cope with that.
Well, if you do simple math, as far as the galaxy, the universe, if you're smart about it, you know damn well we're not alone.
Right.
That's obvious.
Yeah, there's a picture that was taken that was from the Hubble telescope. It was called the most important picture ever taken. If you ever Google the most important picture ever taken, it was a picture that the Hubble telescope took of a blank piece of space, just so nothing in it, no stars. It wasn't like it was trying to zoom in on a star or something. Just blank piece of sky with nothing in it, and they zoomed infinitely into it with like basically the highest resolution we possibly have, and they found basically what looked like a bunch, like, you know, hundreds or thousands of scattered jewels. Each one of those jewels was a galaxy. Each one of those galaxy with billions of stars. Each one of those stars with many chances of life and many planets. So the odds that we're the only thing living in the planet in the universe. I mean, just look at our planet. You could dig 6 feet in the ground and find 18 million species. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you'd be surprised.
I'm pulling up that picture of the jewels. Crazy.
Here's another thing, StoppedAgo. And me and you talked about this in previous conversations. I want to talk about George Washington. How many people know that George Washington was actually a Freemason?
Wow. It
But
would
the
not
thing
surprise
is,
me at this point.
he does not know that the country was actually infiltrated before his presidency. Like, how many people know George Washington's bloodlines to King George?
37 presidents, actually.
Well, yeah. And speaking of that, this is what I'm getting to. Tony, StoppedAgo. Do you remember that picture of the Masonic pyramid that we talked about?
Oh God, yes. So I was at a garage sale, and I found this old time magazine that was basically like a special issue that was dedicated, where the whole issue is dedicated to explaining Freemasonry, and it was like a 1950s issue, and I was able to find some of the pictures from it on Google, because this was like 15 years ago that I'd seen this, and I've been looking for pictures everywhere. I finally found high resolution photos. If you want to pull them up, it basically has the whole breakdown of all 33 steps. It has the breakdown of every single sect. It's a really very intriguing photo. It shows each step of each degree. If you pay close attention, there's a ton of symbology in there.
I'm bringing it in right now. Oh, this is a Life magazine. The U.S. Masons, and they're standing in a pyramid. I know, Pun, you can't see the screen, but you can?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Isn't that wild?
The most important picture.
I was referring to the picture that StoppedAgo sent, the pyramid of the Freemasons.
Is that in our chat?
The Scottish Rite on the left side and the York Rite on the right.
Is that in our group chat?
Yes, that is the cover. That is the cover of the episode, or of the thing. It was Life, correct?
Oh, okay. So that's what you're talking about. Is this?
Yeah.
Yes, that is the exact cover.
Perfect.
I was looking at that day. I remember the cover.
What me and StoppedAgo was talking about is this one picture says everything, and it shows that the general public, they really only see 3 small steps of Freemasonry, but that picture shows that it goes way beyond that, and that's what we want to talk about.
And the picture also actually shows one person on the ground taking their first step onto the pyramid, and the first, all the people you see on the first few steps of the pyramid, they're all in suits. And I think that's one of the biggest points that Pun and I were trying to make, was that their goal wasn't to go and help some homeless people up off the street. So it's not showing a man in tatters getting a hand up. That's not what they're about. They were about, once they were infiltrated, they became about helping the societies get their goals done. And that's what most of them didn't know. And that's why you can see, when you get to the photo, you'll see that the first 3 steps don't really align with the whole rest of the pyramid, and you get pointed to go all the way around back.
Let Thomas pull it up real quick so we could kind of go through it.
All right, all right, so the picture is of what? I'm sorry, one more time.
You'll see a big pyramid. It's like, you'll see a huge pyramid with an arc in the middle with all the guys around it.
It's basically a drawing.
It's the all gray pyramid?
No, it should be color. It's an incredible chart. It was the center page of the actual magazine itself, and it was like a whole centerpiece fold out.
I wanted to make sure we discussed that, because that actually explains a lot.
It does. I actually sent you a meme, Thomas, that breaks down some of their techniques of hypnosis that all of the public are being conditioned with right now, and you'll see it. And I have that photo cropped into it as well.
StoppedAgo, maybe you might need to send it to him to.
I can send it to him right now. Hold on.
Yeah, send it to me on Twitter, not on text, because then I have to send it over through email and everything.
Yeah, no worries, I got you.
Yeah. So who's at the top of these people standing? Who is this gentleman right here?
That's what we're going to go over, because StoppedAgo, he came up with a picture, and it's a very intelligent picture, but it was made by obviously somebody that was very high up, and it fully describes every step and every initiation into Freemasonry, as far as the public version and the hidden version, and it goes into detail exactly who is regarding what.
Wow,
it's very important. So that's why I hope you can pull it up soon.
Yes, we will get to it. Guys, if you are enjoying this, please, this information, you're not going to get information like this many other places. This is in our corner of the internet, where we're all here to share information. We're all here to listen and learn about it. And it is what it is. It's untold stories of history. It's a beautiful thing that we are able to do this with one another and to witness this, because these things need to be known. These are the history lessons that we should be taught in school, not this federal garbage that they pass down so that we just regurgitate it out when we go into society. So if you are enjoying this, my friends, please go ahead and click that like button. Please share this. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, Thomas,
yeah.
You know how many things I've sent out where everybody's like, I had no idea, I never heard of that. But it's out there everywhere. All people have to do is look.
Yes, it is open source. Yeah.
So I sent both those pictures to your text messages. You should have them.
To text or through the DM?
To text messages.
Oh, all right. All right, hold on. So this is probably the most important part of the show, to be honest.
Yeah,
right.
There's definitely some good stuff in that picture. I'll tell you that right now. And I think everyone should get a link to it. So if Shan wants to drop it in the chat for everyone to take a look at themselves, definitely take time to peruse this, because there's a lot of stuff. You can look up each an individual little person and name that you see, and each one's a subsect, whole group of a secret society. So the more that you can learn about them, the better.
All right.
Let me go ahead and ask the audience this, everybody that's watching. When you see all these celebrity pictures with one hand over one eye and the other eye is open, do you think that means something?
You better believe it.
We're about to talk about it right now.
All right, let me go. I had to send it to my email. All right. Real quick, big ups to Jeffrey Horlick. Thank you so much for becoming a Patreon Massive number. Thank you so much. And BOBI, thank you so much for the massive Patreon. I greatly appreciate that. It never goes unnoticed nor unappreciated. I see it right here, guys. That is beautiful. Thank you so much for that. A lot of work does go into the show. And, of course, we have been demonetized because why? Because we are speaking truth and we are over the target. Paulette says she loves this show. Absolutely. This is a great thing that us three put together, and I'm glad you are able to enjoy it. It's a lot of fun for me as well. I can promise you that. All right, I'm going as fast as I can, guys, to bring this up.
Having fun. Yeah, wait till we get into the bloodlines.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, so we're still sharing, and oh yeah, here we go. Now there's the picture. Let me minimize that, make it look all pretty like, see? And the first picture is a bunch of people standing around a dome. So there you go. If you guys want to check this out.
The guy actually standing right underneath the dome is the Shriners. You'll see them on television with all the little children.
There we go.
Little hurt children with the red hats.
Yes, so I'm showing everyone right now, and I'm sharing it with you on the screen too. So if you want to go ahead and talk about this, fill us in. This is amazing, by the way.
Right?
Go
Yes.
ahead, StoppedAgo.
Okay, well, yeah, you see how at the bottom in the middle, you'll see step number 1 and step number 2. They have their labeled degrees. You see it like apprenticeship and stuff like that at the bottom?
Yes.
Thomas, can you zoom in?
Yes. All right.
Middle at the bottom.
All right, the middle at the bottom right here. Yep, enter as an apprentice, fellow craft, and then master mason.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Now you notice how once you get up to that third step, you kind of just hit a wall, right? Where you're directed either right or you're directed left. And
correct.
You'll see the guys walking left. They have to go all the way around to the dark side, where
Yes.
they have some royal secret master who's going to point them up the dark side of there where there's no sunlight.
Correct.
Okay. And that each one of those steps, I want you to, if you can, Thomas, kind of zoom in and read off all those steps to your listeners, because they have very, very intricate names. And
All right, I can go ahead and do this.
Home with a few people.
All right, so 4th degree is a secret master. The 5th degree is a perfect master. The 6th degree is an intimate secretary. The 7th is a prospect, I believe, and judge. The 8th degree is an intendant of the building. The 9th degree is a master-elect of 9 Elu of the 9. I believe some of this is a little difficult to read. 10%.
Totally.
Elect of the 15 ELN of the 15, I believe. The 11th degree is the Sun Sublime Master Elected. Number 12, the Grand Master Architect. The 13th, the Master of the 9th Arc. The 14th, the Grand Elect Mason. 15th, Knight of the East or Sword. The 16th is the Prime of Jerusalem. What's that?
They get weirder and weirder. Keep going.
Yes. 17th, the Knight of the East and West. The 18th, the Knight of the, I can't read it, looks like crucifix maybe, of HRDM, Knight Rose Crofix. 19 degree, Grand...
That's the Rosicrucian. The Rosicrucian order.
Yeah, Rosicrucian, okay. 19th degree is the Grand Pontiff. I believe that's what it's saying. 20th degree, Master of Ad Vitman. Master of the Symbolic Lodge. 21st degree Mason. Patriarch. I can't pronounce that. Non-sheet, I guess. You're right. They just get weirder and weirder. 22nd degree. Prince of Libamus. 23 degree Mason. Chief of the Tabernacle. 24th. Prince of the Tabernacle. 25th degree Mason. Knight of the Brazen Serpent.
The Brazen Serpent. How
Brazen
weird is that?
Serpent. Yes. 26th degree. The Prince of Mercy. The 27th degree, the Commander of the Temple, Knight Commander of the Temple. 28th degree Mason, Knight of the Sun, Knight of the Sun or Prince Adept. 29th degree, Knight of St. Andrew, the Scottish Knight of St. Andrew. The 30th degree Masonry, Grand Elect Knight K2. The 31st degree Masonry, Grand Inspector Inquisitor. The 32nd, Sublime Prince of the Royal Secret, Master of the Royal Secret.
What the hell is the Royal Secret?
That's important.
The Royal
That's
Secret,
the
Master of the
question I
Royal
ever get.
Secret.
When I did all this research, I went, man, what the hell is the Royal Secret? That
Wow.
seems like an awful lot of building for just one little secret.
Yeah. And the 33rd degree is the Sovereign Grand Inspector General.
Correct.
Wow.
Now, I want to take one little quick snapshot of the other side, and I'll throw it back to Pun. If you look on the right side of the pyramid, you'll see that there's a step. There's one person missing. There's a step that's empty.
Yes.
Doesn't have a person. And now this is the side that's on the sun. And there's a guy holding the step that's empty. His name's the Royal Archmason.
Yes.
He's got the big old rainbow garb going on.
Yes.
Now, if you pull up the meme that I sent you, you'll see him doing a specific indoctrinations and a specific hypnosis technique that they use. And I what I did was I put it next to one of their other hypnosis techniques that they use, which was kneeling, and I put them basically side by side with some modern day stuff that might let you see where the programming's coming from.
All right, so we take a look here. It says Masonic Hypnosis Ritual. Let me move us down a bit right here. The ritual is outlined in official Masonic publications. Involves the participants genuflecting, kneeling on one knee before the body of their fallen master, who is then resurrected.
Their fallen master. Who's the fallen one? Who's the one who fell from a high? Remember the two oldest words. This is another great lesson. The two oldest words in the ancient languages that described the devil, there were only two words. One was Barak and one was Bama. One, Barak means to fall and Bama means to from a high. So it's just kind of funny that we had a president who took the name Barack Obama to fall from a high.
Amazing. And then we can see the looks like BLM taking the knee, the Masonic hypnosis ritual, bowing to the knees, falling to the knees. Are we being hypnotized? You can't breathe. Don't shoot. People on their knees, one knee down. As we can see here down below, we can see Creepy Joe and Nancy Pelosi. Chuck Schumer, Jerry Nadler can't sit because he's, I don't even know what he is. Can't breathe. Don't shoot. All on one knee. Are we being hypnotized? The Royal Arch Mason. Again, up here. Masonic hypnosis ritual. Down on one knee, taking the knee. Masonic hypnosis ritual. Down on the knee. Are we being hypnotized?
Now,
very interesting.
Since Twitter wanted to come at some of our special friends today, like Tommy G and IET and all those people they went at, I'm going to unleash Pun to talk about all the rest.
Excellent.
Get him, Pun.
All right. Well, regarding that, the previous picture, Thomas.
Mm-hmm. I'm back on it, by the way. Yep.
If you look at the very top right picture.
Okay.
The previous picture you had up.
Yeah, the one with the arch and the naming of the different degrees.
The one that said we were hypnotized.
Okay, yeah, I can go back to that. Perfect.
Yeah, go.
There you go. All right, I'm back on it. I'm back on it.
All right, now look at the guy. Look at the guy in the top right.
Yes.
I don't see it on the screen yet.
Yeah, it's about a 30-second delay. It'll pop up.
Look at the guy at the top right.
Okay.
Can you zoom in on him?
Yes, I can. Actually, that's as far as I can zoom in.
Okay, well, look at him and then go back to the arch picture that you were at before.
Okay. We'll take a look at him. This is the guy, I believe, that StoppedAgo was talking about with the rainbow. Whoops, clicked the wrong button. All right. Then we'll bring this one back in.
That's holding the step that's basically open for the next individual to step into place.
Okay, so the next individual to step into place is represented by the empty space where these people are beside the Royal Arch Mason.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the next one, the Order of the Red Cross.
Yes. Now you're getting it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Another thing. This was what I was referring to.
Okay.
There's two secret societies. What do you see in the sun? The sun represents what? God. Okay. Now you see a Scottish Rite and a York Rite. The York Rite is on the right. The Scottish Rite is on the left. Why is one in shadows and one is in the light? When you see these celebrities, when you see the one hand over the eye and the other is exposed, what does that tell you?
It's a show. Yeah, it's symbolism of dark and light. So the what's in the sky in this picture being portrayed is, I guess, the sun is the eye. Is that what you see? Is that what I'm supposed to be looking at?
Well, the sun actually it's supposed to represent God.
Okay.
But a lot of those in the shadows, on the Scottish Rite, in the shadows, see it as the eye of Horus and not the eye of God.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
Hidden societies.
That's exactly what it is.
Now, here's another thing. Now, I've been talking about Illuminati all night. Okay, I'm going to go back to something that I said earlier. In 1785, the Illuminati member named Bagara Lanza that was killed in Radisvan. I hate saying that word. Guess what his middle name was?
What?
Adam Lanza. Where have you heard that name before?
Oh, I know. Yeah, and that was the shooter.
Yeah. Is that not a coincidence?
Right. And a lot of these people had the wide-eyed, the MK Ultra looking face. Yeah, I mean, it's like a tip of the cap from them, because with free will, they have to show what they're doing. We have just been, lulled to sleep, so that when they do these things, it's kind of like, universal law. They have to give us a chance for us to to notice this stuff and take back what's ours. That's universal law. So they just hide everything. They hide everything.
It goes back to my research through the Brotherhood of the Snake, which is the oldest secret society known to man, and it still exists till today. Now, the Brotherhood of the Snake truly believes that you have to project what you want to do onto the people. Therefore, if they accept it, and that's the only way that you can complete your agenda. It's just like vampirism. If you invite someone into your home, vampire per se.
Okay.
And I know it sounds weird, but it's a perfect analogy. If you invite them, then they go along with it, right? That's the same thing with projection. Like, you have to give them some little bit of truth ahead of time so that they can accept it, or else they truly believe they cannot project it onto you. And they've been doing that for the past 6,000 years.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I mean, it's from what I've researched, that it's universal law, and they are allowed to do these things to us because we are actually given the chance to take back what's ours, but they've had the hand of dominance over us, and we're too weak in the mindset to take back what's ours. So what continues to go on when it comes to misery, sorrow, wars, I don't know, just the depletion of man, it's allowed because of this.
Example. What is the Patriot Act? It's anything but patriotic. But the sheer fact that people call it Patriot Act, how many people believed in it because of the emotion of 9/11?
And how many representatives would be considered non-patriotic if they didn't sign the Patriot Act?
Exactly.
Right.
Everything
how many
is
of them would have been chastised?
Infiltrated. Everything.
I'll give you another great example too, because we put out a post of, you know, what were people looking forward to hearing the most, and the most out of all the stuff that we listed too, which you kind of have to tell the whole story. One of the most things that people wanted to hear about, like 46% of them, I think, at the end of it was what happened, the changes that happened secretly after World War II. And now when it comes to mind control and all these different techniques, you know, the Bavarian side of that, I explained to you how the German side of things infiltrated the bloodlines of the York Rite, right? So they took away the Messianic rule, and they kind of sold their bloodline away, which, you know, basically takes away that Messianic value that it used to have. If you're going to sell it, it doesn't really have a God value to it now, does it? So basically, when they started infiltrating the York Rite, they had the ability to start controlling that half of the pyramid, using it to leverage it in other terms. So there was actually a video that got released, I believe it was like in Hungary, just, you know, a few years ago, where the top levels of the Illuminati, or the Freemasons in that group, were doing some satanic worship, and they got caught on video. Someone had filmed it and shared it. And the people who were many steps under them were furious, because they thought that they were like in a part of a God-loving organization. And now a big part of that, why Freemasonry, is because they build with God. You know, the earliest United States Freemasons came to America to build with God as a part of their complex. So it had the spirit of God built into it. A lot of them would even inscribe, you know, prayers into the support columns and stuff. And when you have satanically infiltrated Freemasonry, they build satanic inferences into the architecture, like gargoyles, and you see a lot of that, you know, prevalent in modern society. And in fact, you'll see it even more modern society with the 1970s, you know, building in the Vatican, which is the Snake building, the Snake complex in the Vatican. Yes. That, I mean, doesn't really get much more obvious in architecture than that. And that's exactly what they're building into the architecture. The same as a boat builder would build God into his boat back in the day. They, you know, where the boat, the mast of the body was the body, and the hull was the brain, you know, or the mast, sorry, you know, every part of the ship was a component that they could relate to God. And so that they built it into the signature of it. And so that the same thing goes with the code of our America. And then what we were trying to build, they wanted to infiltrate it and build what they wanted into it. And as we got to World War I, they had done a great job infiltrating us with Hollywood in 1913, in our education system in 1913, in our banking in 1913. So leading into the 1930s and 1940s, they had us pretty programmed in Hollywood, and we didn't even know it. We were being overeducated and under informed, and that was a huge technique that was being worked out at that time. But in Germany, they were trying to perfect it. Hitler at that time was really trying to perfect, how do I rule over my people with an iron fist, and then continue to expand outward. And that was one of his big things, was ruling the mind. And that's what government means in its Latin root. Guber is the Latin root of govern, and it means to control, like gubernatorial candidate. And then ment comes from the Latin root mentis, which means mind. So they were trying to literally just lock in and rule the minds of their citizens, and way more so than was happening here. But after the end of World War II, when we went and captured all of his scientists, like his rocket scientists for Operation Paperclip, those weren't the only scientists that we grabbed. We grabbed a lot more, and they were doing a lot different things. And those scientists came over and started their own projects here, and continued to do so. And that's where we got the MK Ultras and the Mockingbirds and stuff. And I highly recommend that every one of your viewers, even if you know about it, go back and Google every single thing you can on Operation Mockingbird, Operation or MK Ultra, on the Church Commission, on Daniel Inouye, Inouye, Daniel Inouye. He was a senator in the 70s who brought about a whole lot to light. And really read into it, because there's a lot that's right there that no one really takes the time to read, and all the answers have been right in front of us the whole time, as far as their techniques and what they've been trying to perfect as far as control over the people. And when you look at what was instituted here in America with things like Disney and all these other things, and where it sprouted from, and who controlled it, and who funded it, and you know, Playboy and the same thing, and all these things that were coming into power in America, you go back and you look at its original origins, and you can all trace it back to those exact programs, every one of them.
It's unbelievable. You guys are so informed. Again, if you are enjoying this show, please go ahead, hit that like button, share this with everybody, and follow these gentlemen on Twitter. It would mean the world to them. I can promise you that. These guys, we all know that censorship is at an all-time high right now. I mean, it's a war zone. We are on their platform on Twitter and also on BoozTube. So, you know, guys, just show your support while we're still here. I would greatly appreciate it. I have opened up the phone lines for the last 30 minutes of the show. The first number is East Coast, the second number is Central, and the third number is West. And the meeting ID and password is there. So if you want to call in, you have questions for these guys or for me, whatever you want to do, or just show your appreciation, just let us know. So guys, yeah, continue on. What's that? What?
No, I said, here we go, StoppedAgo.
Yeah, I know. I said, here we go. Let's do it.
Yeah. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get some great calls. Last time was insane, so we'll see.
Just want to add real quick, the whole point of this show is just to show you that how big the enemy is and how much we've been infiltrated. It's not Pelosi. It's not Obama. This has been going back hundreds, if not thousands of years. So
yes.
We just want to tell the audience that this is a 6,000-year war. This has been going on for a very long time.
We might not want to believe it, but they sure do, because they practice all this esoteric stuff. If you don't believe me, look into Bohemian Grove and the 40-foot Molech statue.
Yeah, and that's what we're here to
Molech is the god of child sacrifice.
And Thomas, before we get into the calls real quick,
Sure.
I just want to mention, everybody that's watching, please make sure and go back to my Twitter, and I tweeted about it a lot today. Please subscribe to Gates of Victory. It's a new YouTube channel by my best friend, Victoria Gates. It's going to feature her and the co-host of me and Severanon. It's our new show coming up. And so far, we've already got Methods, IT, U Thomas, StoppedAgo, Cade Awakening, Keystone Channel, Societies. We've already got some major players that's willing to come on ASAP. So anyone who's looking for a new show, it's just going to be a roundtable discussion about what's going on currently. Just kind of sit down and chat, and just please follow her, subscribe to her, because this thing is going to blow up. I can guarantee it.
Amazing. Thanks for adding me and StoppedAgo to that list.
This show to get the vibe that it got from the people, and it was so humbling to get all the messages we got of support and people just that couldn't wait for the next one. I was just shocked and humbled. So thank you again for everyone who's listening too, and for sharing it for to all your friends. This is to us, it makes all the difference in the world just to have other people go out and do some research. That's really the goal of everything that me and Pun have tried to put forth is just to spark a little interest and make people go out and read up on some things that maybe sparked a little interest in their mind.
Yeah, and just one last thing before you accept callers, Thomas. If we have a quote unquote last caller, I know you know what I'm getting at.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. If that last caller wants to tune back in.
I get it, but there's a time limit.
There is a time limit, yes.
Yeah, we just want to try and be respectful so each and every caller can try and get a chance. We had like a bunch of callers last time that didn't get a chance to get on, so we're going to try and keep it limited to about a minute or two each and get your questions in, and we'll try and rock it out so we get as many people on as possible.
Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and start taking some calls real quick. Right, bring it up to, if you don't want your number being shown, you're able to change your number. You're able to change your name on Zoom. I believe I had that. Yes, allow participants to rename themselves. Not on me, it's on you, and I can promise you nothing's going to happen to you if your number's up. Nobody cares. Let's go ahead and take our first call of the night. 7700. 7700, what's up? Welcome to True History.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Doing good. Who are we speaking with tonight?
Patriot Angel.
Hi, Patriot Angel.
Oh, I love Patriot Angel.
I know you. I know you.
I love you guys too. Yeah, absolutely. So first, I have a bunch of questions, but first I want to ask Thomas, How can I sponsor your show? What can I do?
Oh my! I mean, there are many ways to sponsor. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we can talk offline. Not right now. We'll talk offline about that, and we'll get to the bottom of something. Yeah. But I'll email you, or you. I mean, I assume you're on Twitter. You can just DM me, and I'll follow you back, and we can talk about it that way.
Hey, she's got some great threads. I found her with 25 followers and was like, just like Punisher found me, and I was like, how are you not having more followers? And since that, I believe she's up over 2,500 in the last month, I think. So
nice.
Go follow her, read some of her threads. She's got some great research.
I would say retweeting would be a start.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, you guys are so kind. I'm so humbled. Thank you. I love the show. Absolutely. All of you guys. Yeah. Awesome. I'm very grateful. So this is to all of you. The pyramids on the currency. So the pyramids, when you go back and look at, the pyramids weren't built by slaves, right? It's too precise. All of the geometry, all of the math that goes into it, it clearly was, in my belief, something celestial, something outside of this planet.
I agree.
What are your thoughts on that? Because I know you guys have a bunch of stuff that's coming up, and I don't want to spoil that, but
I can give you.
You got me a little peaked on that. Okay.
I can give you a quick thought and relate it back to our first episode. You remember how our first episode talked about latitude being measured before the chronometer was even invented in the 1800s?
Yes.
Well, if you think about it, if we obviously know that the pyramids were born, or they were obviously built before the 1800s, right? And how did they know to build the pyramids on exactly 0 point latitude and exactly 0 point longitude on the planet? And we don't even know how to measure that yet. So how did they do that when they built the pyramids, nevertheless, the 1800s?
Okay, yes, absolutely. And how does that tie into the ley lines, right? You've got all of the ley lines with all the sacred sites, Machu Picchu, like Stonehenge. I really want you guys' thoughts on this.
Well, how did they know? How would they possibly have known that those other sites existed if they didn't have the modern technology to be able to go visit those sites?
Correct.
Visit them remotely? Were they shown them in a vision?
Patriot Angel, let me tell you this. Look up Pythagoras.
Yes. That's a great start.
Yes.
Pythagorean theorem. Yes, absolutely. I'm kind of putting...
He's an Egypt warlord from the 5th century of BC.
Yep, I'm bringing it in right now.
The questions I'm asking are not necessarily for me, but it's also to just kind of bring enlightenment to everybody else. I've done a bunch of this research. All right, so I'm just trying to dive into this so I give other room to other people. Going back to the third eye with the pyramid. You've got the pineal gland.
Yeah.
Look at the screen.
I don't know, Patriot Angel, can you see the screen right now?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so it says Pythagoras of Samos is regarded as the first pure mathematician to logically deduce geometric facts from basic principles. He is credited with proving many theorems, such as the angles of a triangle summing up to 180 degrees, and the infamous Pythagorean theorem, or a right-angled triangle, which had been known experimentally in Egypt for over 1,000 years. The Pythagorean school is considered as the first documented source of logic and deductive thought, and may be regarded as the birthplace of reason itself. As philosophers, they speculated about the structure and nature of the universe, matter, music, numbers, and geometry. Wow.
They used triangles to measure what the width of a circle was, and that was the beginning of calculus. And actually, the first person really wasn't Albert Einstein. It was Archimedes. Archimedes was the first person to discover that if you drew enough triangles over a circle, that you could actually measure the circumference of the circle.
I like this. I want to say something real quick from Johnny Nonstop Big. He says ley lines are pole starts or portals at connecting points. And one other thing, because I know Patriot Angel was talking about if we were going to go into off-world stuff, when I think of triangles, I think of TR3Bs right off the bat. So it is what it is. So
Well, to answer
Love
your
it.
question, Pythagoras is a good way to start as far as the human civilization. But if we go beyond that, that's going to be another episode.
Yeah, it will be. And we do have other callers. We got to get to. We have 20 minutes left.
And I love your threads.
Patriot Angel, yeah, I think I follow. I hope I follow you. I know I've heard your name before, and I believe I heard your name from StoppedAgo. So definitely credit to him.
Aw.
Yeah, I love you guys. I have a bunch more questions, but yeah, I'm all about, sharing it with everybody else. So
well, feel free to message me. I'll always answer you.
Yeah, DM me as well. DM me as well, and I'll definitely respond.
You guys are great. Thank you. Much love to everybody.
All right, sweetie pie. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
See ya.
She was great.
Yeah, she's awesome.
All right.
Loving patriot.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and take another call real quick. From Galaxy S8. Go ahead and turn on your microphone so we can get some questions in. And again, guys, if you're enjoying yourselves, please share and like. I would greatly appreciate it. Ask to unmute. Galaxy S8, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing today? Liberty.
Hey, that was a free commercial.
Yeah, it was. Are you there, Galaxy? I need you to mute that stream for me. See, these are the things, guys. When you call in, please mute your stream because it really takes the wind out of the sails. 8988, welcome to the show. 8988, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, man? I've called in a couple times before, but it's been a while since I called in because I had to do the essential work and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But so I'm down here in Roswell, New Mexico, where I was born.
Yes.
Whoa.
And I've called you before. My name's Lancelot.
Nice to meet you, Lancelot.
Twitter, I'm a non-a-lot, or at Lancelot Real.
Okay.
I don't really give a fuck.
Okay.
So let me give you some background real quick. Sorry to cuss.
All right.
I like this guy already.
I have a gay mom, okay? But I was put in Christian schools, right? I'm like 6'5", so I'm taller than anyone in my family. The tallest one's like 5'9", so I've always like stuck out, been weird. Mm-hmm. First home I ever lived at was in Midway, New Mexico, on Crossroads Road, actually corner of Crossroads in Alabama. Here, I want to start off with this. As far as Albert Pike and the Freemasons, let's go to Matthew 16:18 through 23. At the altar of Pan, Christ looks at Peter and says, "You're the rock upon which my church will be built." Verse 23, he says, "Get thee behind me, Satan." So in 5 verses, he says, "You're the rock upon which my church will be built." And then he says it'll be built upon Satan. That doesn't mean that the house of the Lord belongs to Satan. Just like the temptation of Christ, if you Google that, you'll get to Wikipedia, and halfway through the page, you'll see Q document. Click on that, and you'll go to the Q hypothesis, and then you get into some crazy things. But as far as being Masons and all that, and how Masons were infiltrated, well, so was the church. I mean, like it's not common knowledge that the Pope's pretty evil.
Sure.
I think everyone's pretty aware of that. That doesn't make the church evil. The church is the body, right?
Correct.
When they dropped the bomb on Pearl Harbor, they're like, "Oh, we awakened a sleeping giant." Well, when they dropped the bomb on Christianity with communism and Islam, and I'm not going to get like too specific, but when they did that,
let's not do that.
The sleeping giant of the body of Christ, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so let me give you some other background information.
Well, I was going to give
you a Christian.
Real quick. Let's let StoppedAgo speak.
I was going to say, did you have a quick question for the, because we wanted to get as many callers in as possible last time.
I do. I have a quick question. I have a quick question. Mm-hmm. I want you to know this much. I guess is a question. I grew up in Roswell, and I didn't really believe in aliens. Okay. Now, I didn't have to get red pilled as far as knowing evil exists and knowing that we're in a spiritual. But I was never red pilled to that. I've always known that. I was raised to believe that.
Okay.
So for me, aliens is like a hard concept, but watching you over the last, since 6 months, my wife got me into you. You red-pilled me on the fact that, I don't really know, because let me just say this much. I grew up in Roswell, and I can tell you right now, there's underground silos and shit. Like, I can give you guys films, whatever you want, anytime you want. I lived here. I bought a house here. You know what I mean? Like I got pictures on my Twitter of me standing in front of as many aliens as I could the other day on deliveries before I got laid off again for Wuhan Grisham's mandate.
Jeez.
But let me say this much. My real question is, do you think that Masonry got infiltrated for the same reasons the church was infiltrated, i.e. the Pope, i.e. Mason, Pike?
Absolutely.
Here's another thing.
Head.
Okay,
awesome.
so let me give a testimony real quick. I became
Quickly.
a Mason in 2015.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I paid my dues. I gave my proficiencies. I became a 3rd degree Mason. I never gave my 3rd degree proficiency. I lost my house. I lost everything.
Mhm.
I went and asked for help from my so-called brothers, and I was given money back. And then I was shunned. And then I realized that Joseph Smith was a Cowan, and he joined Freemasonry, and then he started the Mormon religion, and I'm not a Mormon. So then it quickly became apparent to me that, like, the people who control Social Security and all the ancestry sites, look it up, Latter-day Saints, all of them are controlled by the Latter-day Saints.
Hey,
And Social Security. They know where everybody came from.
Very good caller. I do want to get to other callers, man. Thank you so much for the ring.
No doubt. Let me call in again in another time, and like,
Sure.
you guys have anything you want to know about? What do you want to see? You want to see Walker Air Force Base? I can't go in the UFO museum because it's closed.
Send
So,
us
like, what do
whatever
you want
videos or
videos of?
photos you got.
Just send us whatever, my man. I got
what the slums look like. I mean, that's what Roswell
Hey,
looks like.
we got to run to other callers, man. But hey, you're the man.
Yes, thank you, my man. I appreciate it. Let me get to Galaxy S8. Guys, just ask your question. Just be polite to the other ones waiting on you. Be aware of that. So let's go ahead. Galaxy S8. Let me try you again, my man, or sweetie pie. Let's see. Galaxy S8. Let's go. Are you there, Galaxy S8? I need you to turn on your mic. Wow, this is just taking the wind right out of this. All right, 9850. Welcome to the show, 9850.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? What's your name?
This is Tasha, Truth for You.
Hi, Tasha. What's going on? What's your question for these guys?
So I knew about Illuminati, Masons, all that crap since about the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew all that. I actually just listened to the Book of Enoch due to Punisher. So I just wanted to know, Punisher, do you think that it is that's in the Book of Enoch towards the end when you're listening to it? It's part of what we're going through now.
Great question.
Because that's a version that I've seen. I was like,
Well,
this makes a lot of sense.
Is you got to look.
Thank you, caller.
And think. What you got to do is look at it yourself and think about: is that what we're going through? Is it going on now, or is this just a prelude of what's going to intensify in the future? Just like with Revelations, a lot of people could say Revelations is happening now, but if you look at the Bible, Revelations is so much more severe than what's actually happening now. So you got to think about the context of the level of what you're looking at.
Correct. And an apocalypse doesn't mean the end of the world at all. In fact, if you go look up the definition of the word apocalypse, it means a great unveiling or a great veil being lifted. So if anything, that means dark to light.
I agree.
Now, that's not to say we're not going through dark times. No, I'm not saying that. But with that being said, you got to understand, if you go back and you look through the Bible and you look through the Book of Enoch, and obviously you've read it, if you read every word and you studied it, how close are we to those times? Is it within months, or did we already pass that point?
And to further that point, Pun, we're experiencing, obviously everyone could admit, we're experiencing some unusually, dark times right now. We're going through a lot right now. And what I would say to that is my two favorite quotes, and that is, it is always darkest before the dawn. And my other favorite quote is Winston Churchill, who, you know, God knows what he was going up against at the time. And he, you know, what mountains he was facing. But he said, even the darkest hour only has 60 minutes.
Yes.
Beautiful. It definitely is. Jenny Baker in the chat says this is biblical times. 100% is, and I agree with Pun. I liked what you said there. You said that, you know, are we going into the darkest times? Is it weeks, months away, or have we already gone through it, and now we are coming out of that, going into the light? It's such a gradual pace. I talk about it on the show all the time. It's such a gradual baby step movement or awakening that it's spreading. I think it's spreading much faster in the collective consciousness than we actually are aware of.
Well, what I meant by that is
100%.
everyone's definition of darkness is so different.
Correct.
Like my definition of darkness is the whole world is just completely annihilated, going at itself. Okay, well, someone else may actually look at today's situation and think that's the darkest it's going to get. I don't see that. There's a different way of looking at it through every point of view.
I agree.
It just all depends.
That's
on
what this show is all about.
Exactly.
It all depends on how the person interprets it.
That's what. Yes, it's how you interpret it, and I totally agree with you. I want to bring in the last caller of the night, and we got 7 minutes left in the show, so just be conscientious of the show. Let's go ahead and bring him in. It's it should be. You should be able to hear me now. 4688. Yes, I hear you.
Hey Tom, how you doing?
I'm doing good, my man. Who's this?
Oh, this is C76 or Blind C75.
This is the guy from last time.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, boys, here we go.
Question.
Oh no, I had a question for you guys.
Okay. Bring
Okay.
it.
Which would you like to hear about? Because we only have 7 minutes. I have the anti-gravity talk quickly, or the numbers and symbols, and this has to do with why does everybody kiss on January 1st?
Hey, so I got one for you too. So
Go ahead.
the show, we're trying to throw out as many things that people can go and look up and research. So if you got links that you want to be able to drop to everything everything you want to drop it. But if you don't got the links, you don't got the sauce, don't drop it.
All right, that sounds good. Let me give access. Absolutely. Let me give access to the links to Tom's email address, and I'll just drop the because I actually want to talk to you, StoppedAgo, so much about the gold thing you just talked about.
All right.
Did you do any research into the colloidal factor of gold? Colloidal gold.
Colloidal silver, colloidal gold.
Colloidal gold is one particle of gold in its only elemental form, not bonded electromatically to anything else. Just one particle of gold.
Got you.
So it has really cool properties. One is that it gets heated up, and it rumored at 800 degrees, there's many links on the internet, you can Google this, that it has lightning properties, which it lightens things. Now, if we jump real quickly to the Vimanas that we talked about on the first show, the flying ships with the Mercury engines, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if we go to the Mercury engines, we wonder, how can we heat gold up to 800 degrees and keep it in a colloidal form? Whenever we heat gold up to 800 degrees, it simply melts into the gold. And that was the funny thing with the Europeans. When they thought they were reading about how to make gold, they didn't realize they're actually learning how to make the fuel for the ships. So
interesting.
Once this is just sauceless, buddy. Hey, just call me out, whatever you want. You're not going to be able to find this information. But let me just say it real quick.
You learned it.
Let me just say it. Hey, I got you. If we also go to the space station and we look up bacteria grow fastest in 0G, well, that has translated back to our farmers. And our farmers use something called a vortex fertilizer maker or tea maker or bacterial maker. What this does is it creates a channel of zero gravity down the center of the vortex. Now, if you heat the mercury up to 800 degrees and you get that gold, to give an anti-gravitational blockage, I didn't want to go into too much about this because it'd be too long, but gravity is just information, and gold has the ability to block the information. when teed up.
Well, there's the reason why they put gold on every one of our interstellar ships, and all of our stuff all of our rockets that go into space. They're all lined with gold. All of our space suits are actually lined with gold because it's the only solar insulator, because it comes from a supernova.
That's so interesting. I want to address that too real quick. But it's one particle away from lead, and lead is laid on you when you get an X-ray. And the reason it's on all of our ships and all of our things is because it's a complete electromagnetic blocker, and it's the only thing that blocks so efficiently as lead does, but not as efficiently at the thin level. But let me just let me jump back to the fertilizer thing. Can you imagine if at the bottom, if we fill that fertilizer team vortex maker with this solution of mercury floating with gold that has the ability to float something, and then we literally put it under the Baka, the bell, the Great Iron Bell, and in Germany, and they find out that when you put it in there and you put a little, of course, mushroom cap on the top and then disperse it back, it will block the information of the bell, the big giant bell. But they realized that it also did another thing. It created a positively heavy gravitational particle that came out the direct bottom of the vortex. You know what I'm talking about?
Interesting. Is this what led into become the particle collider?
No. This is the great German breakthrough that gave them their flying machines,
totally,
their UFOs.
I'm just saying. Is this
so
what?
Hold on, wait. Let me just finish
that science?
Well, hold on. Let me just finish really. So they put another
1 minute, caller. You got 1 minute.
1 minute. They put a smaller anti-gravitational device under the bigger one, and you got a stable anti-gravitational device because the first one was flying off the chains.
Well,
Thomas, thank you so much.
You're welcome, my friend. Thank you for the call.
Maybe 3 months away from changing the world. I would say if you build it, I will come.
Yeah.
Anti-gravity, and I will be there. I'll tell you that right.
That's what I'm waiting for, man. I want full disclosure.
If you make me an anti-gravity skateboard, brother, you will have a fan for life.
I just want full disclosure. That's all I want. Everything.
I've been waiting for the hovering skateboard since Back to the Future. I thought by 2020 we were gonna have floating skateboards, and I was really pissed to get to 2020 and not have floating skateboards. So my man, if you can get me a floating skateboard with anti-gravity, I'm telling you, you're my man.
Guys, this show flies by, and there's so much information. Everybody is stoked about this. Listen, I appreciate the both of you coming on and doing this with me. This is, I'm telling you, these viewers love it. And we were up, I think we're up almost to 1,500 people watching at one point. So, the love, the respect is there. Again, guys, it's every 2 weeks. This is 2 weeks worth of information that we compile into 2 hours. And I think we hit the majority of it tonight. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. And you know what? If there's something else if there's a lot of you guys that want us to go into something more, feel free to light us up and tell us, hey, we want this, and get a campaign together, get a bunch of people to share it, so it gets a bunch of people getting us, shouting us down to get us to do it, because we would love that. Let us know exactly where we're wanted.
I totally agree. Listen, guys, if you want to catch Red Pill 78, he is coming on right now. Just make sure that you you share, you follow me, Punisher, and StoppedAgo on Twitter, and become a Patreon today like so many of you already have. That is the best way to support this channel financially. And if you want to go do that, I would most certainly appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed your time. This is episode 2 of True History, the Untold Stories. Next 2 Fridays from now, we will have episode 3, and I can promise you, we will not stop doing this. It's too much fun. It's too much information that has been kept from us, and we're exposing it each and every episode. So again, thank you, Punisher. Thank you, StoppedAgo.
Thank you.
I hope you guys have a beautiful night. God bless each and every one of you. Tune into Red Pill 78. He's coming on right now, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Later.
Guys, if you found what you just watched informative and you enjoyed it, then please subscribe to the True Reporting family today. There are many ways to support this channel, like our Patreon link, our PayPal link, and our TRUreporting.us official website link in the description box below. Join the True Reporting family today and be a part of history, because where we go one, we go all.